Hi, this is Carmen from the Huntley Library, and today I'm going to show you how to make knotted floss bracelets, anklets, and bookmarks. So these are the supplies that you're going to need in order to make a bracelet or a bookmark. Some embroidery floss in different colors to make different colored stripes, or you can make all the same color if you want to, or you just have the one color. Some tape to tape it down when we get started tying knots, and some scissors to cut your embroidery floss into pieces of the same length. If you don't have the floss, you could also use string or hemp or even yarn to make your bracelet or bookmark. So for my example, I'm going to do a 3-stranded bracelet for you. I'm going to use blue, green, and red colors of embroidery floss, and the first thing you want to do is cut 3 lengths of the embroidery floss that are the same size. So if you have a new set of floss here, you're going to want to slip off these paper attachments, and then if you find where it folds, you can just unfold it like this, and then you'll have a circle of floss, and you can easily unwind however much you need. If you just pull an end right out of the floss, like you leave it like this and just pull this end, you can get it knotted really easily. So I prefer to do it like this, and then you have you don't have a big mess to work with later on. So for a 3-stranded bracelet, you will need, I'm going to say about an arm's length of your floss. So here's my arm here, and I'm holding it up at my fingers, and then I'm going to stretch all the way back to my armpit, and then that is how much floss I'm going to use for the 3-stranded bracelet. You will need more if you are making a bracelet that has more strands or a bookmark that has more strands. I'm going to take the green apart in the same way that I did the red, so that I just have this loop here. You can even put that around your wrist and then take off the same amount. And then to measure it, you don't have to use your arm this time, you can just use the floss that you already cut to get the same length in the new color. Okay, and then you're going to do the same thing with your last color, or if you're making all the same color, you're just going to cut 3 of the same color. This one's a little bit messy already. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to cut a matching piece of the blue. So this might end up being a little bit long if you're just doing a bracelet or an anklet. You could have a longer bookmark easily, but that's also okay, because then you'll have extra length at the ends to tie it onto your wrist or to your ankle, or to just have a tassel on a bookmark. So I'm going to leave about a couple of inches at the end here, and I'm just going to make a knot. So I'll tie that once and then tie it one more time. And then I've got a double knot just right there on the end. I'll get my extra embroidery floss out of the way. Okay, so the nice thing about these is that once you know what you're doing, you don't have to pay a whole lot of attention. So if you're a knitter or a crocheter, you might have that same experience where if you're just doing a basic knitting or crochet stitch, it doesn't take a lot of your concentration. So you can tape this down now to something. You could use, I'm going to be using a plastic lid here that's from one of my containers, and I'm just going to tape it down right above the knot to hold it in place while I start the process of making it. I'm using painter's tape, so it's sticky, but it won't stick to things forever, and it shouldn't leave a residue. I don't recommend sticking this directly to a wooden table because it might be it might mess the finish up. So be very careful what you choose to stick it to, but this will work, or if you can stick it to your pants if you just want to do it while you're sitting down. That'll work. You could stick it to a countertop if you wanted to stand and do it on the counter. I've done it on the wall before too. Depends on what surfaces you have available at your house. And then you just want to separate your strings out and decide what order you want them to go in. So I'm going to do green, red, and blue. My first stripe is going to be the green stripe. And then you pick up your first piece of floss and your second piece of floss, and you're going to tie a knot. So I have this red thread, or the red floss, going underneath my pointer finger here, and I have the green floss going over it, and I'm just going to tie a knot by wrapping the green floss over my finger and then around the red piece of floss, and then pulling the knot up to meet this big knot that I made before in the end. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. So I'll take the green piece of floss, wrap it around my finger from the top, and then around the red piece of floss underneath, and then tie a knot. And you do 2 knots on each piece of floss. So we're going to go to the next one, which is the blue one in this case. So same thing, green goes over the top of my finger and then under the blue floss, tie a knot, and then over my finger, under the blue floss. My lid is moving a little bit. Tie a knot. This actually works a little bit better when it's attached to the container that I had it on before. That provides a little bit more weight so it won't move around. And then 1 more knot. So we've got 2 knots in each one. Okay, so your green string is done for right now. We're going to go to the red one, which is our next color stripe, and do the same thing. This time it's the red over the top of your finger and then under the blue. 1 knot, 2 knots, and then we're going to do the green. 1 knot, 2 knots, and then we're going to go to the blue. Oops, I'll try not to make a big mess of these. Over your finger, under the green, 1 knot, 2 knots, over your finger, under the red, 1 knot, 2 knots. Okay, let's take a look and see what's happening here. So you can see all of my little knots here are starting to take form into little stripes. And when you have more than 3, if you have a bunch of different threads or strands of floss here, they're going to be kind of tight right up here against this first knot, and they won't lay out flat, like they won't be nice and flat until they get away from where this knot is. So don't worry too much about that. Soon you'll start to see the stripes take form. And so to keep this nice and even and easy to work with, you can use your finger or your fingernail to kind of pull up on these and make them tighter, like you would if you were weaving something. And you can also untape this, move it up, and then tape it again right next to the area that you're working on, just above that. So it will hold that down nice and flat too, and you won't have it rolling up and around or side to side while you're tying knots. So I'll do one more example row for you. Here's our green, tying onto the red, and then we're tying onto the blue. Here's our red, going on to the blue and out of the green. So we used to call these friendship bracelets. I don't know if people are still calling them that. And I was fascinated by them, and I really wanted to learn how to do them, but I couldn't find anybody to teach me. So one day I just watched one of my friends do it while we were in class together, and I figured it out. So I was very proud of myself. There are now tons of patterns and videos that you can watch to learn how to do this and to make even more complicated designs. So be glad that you live in the age of the internet. Okay, so here's how that looks, and you can see how the striping is working a little bit better, and it's a little bit flatter than it was right up by that knot. So I'm going to move the tape down again, and I'm just going to keep going. You're going to keep tying knots like this until this bracelet is big enough, or is big enough to go around your wrist. You're going to want to leave some extra floss at the end so that you can either tie it in a knot, or if you have fasteners to make a little clasp for your bracelet, you can use those too, but you again want to have enough floss at the end to be able to attach those at both ends. And if it's a bookmark, you can knot as long as you want. You probably want it to be long enough to fit in a book. So we can pretend that this notebook is a book, and you would want it to be long enough to go all the way through there. And we have quite a bit left over right now, so it looks like that could work as a bookmark. So I'm going to finish this one up, and then I'll come back and show you how it looks at the very end, and I'll show you some other examples too, where I use more of the floss and more strings in different colors. And we're back. Here we have the 3-string bracelet. You can see how that's the side that we were working on, so that's, I don't know, the right side, and then the other side, you can see more of the knots. So that's 3 strands. I did another one that is 5 strands, and this one has this a variegated floss in it, so it changes from this white to a lighter orange to a darker orange, which is kind of a cool effect. So you can look into using different kinds of flosses to create your designs. And then that's the back side of that one. And then I did, let's see, how many strands is this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strands. This was made out of yarn that I had left over, so this one's actually pretty long and will make a nice bookmark. This was the top part of that one, and then down here, sometimes your ends, even though you measure them, they don't end up being the same size, or this one I kind of stopped in the middle because I wanted this to be at least this long for the other tassel on mine. So if that happens to you, you can just trim off the excess there so that you have your string or your yarn or your threads or your floss is all the same length. So that's our bookmark. And then here's one I have in progress right now, which is 9 strands of the embroidery floss. That's the one side, and then that's the wrong side with all the knots. You may have a preference for one side or the other. I usually like this is the right side. And so this one I'm probably going to make into a bracelet too, or an anklet. All right. So choose your flosses or your colors or your yarns, and I hope you have fun making these. Thanks for joining me today to make bracelets, anklets, or bookmarks. For more fun activities, please check out the library's website, www.huntleylibrary.org. We'll see you next time. Bye.